This interview is part of the module called Building Your Integrative Success Team. And we know how important it is, anybody going through cancer, to have the right people in their corner with the right information supporting them on their journey for becoming cancer-free. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how important it is having the right nutritional expert in your integrative success team when someone's working towards becoming cancer-free.
Well, as explained by the American Institute for Cancer Research, which is kind of the most prestigious organization when it comes to cancer prevention and treatment from a nutritional standpoint, they laid out really 10 steps for preventing, arresting, and potentially reversing cancer. And one of the key takeaways, which is step number 10, is that the same diet that prevents cancer is the same diet you want to be on to try to slow down or treat it. And they explain what that diet is. That's a diet centered around whole grains, beans, fruits, and vegetables, and minimizing both junk food, fast food, and meat consumption. That's kind of the core tenets. And you don't need an expert in your corner. You can become an expert yourself. I mean, when the advice is something like eat more fruits and vegetables, you don't need somebody with letters after their name. You just need to go to Instacart or walk down to the grocery store, go to the produce aisle, and stock up on some of the, so rather than having people in your corner, you've got broccoli in your corner, and you can do that today.
I love that piece of advice. Obviously, it is important to get the right kind of information as well, too, right, from the right expert. And I love that you're empowering people to say, look, just go and make these healthier decisions based on the evidence we know that's actually quite substantial when it comes to the diet for helping your body heal. And I want to get into those details with you as well. Before we do, I want to just mention, we have a module as part of this masterclass called Medicinal Movement, and how critical it is for helping the body to prevent and reverse cancer. So I want people to go watch that module if you haven't already, but maybe you can just talk for a moment there, because you're obviously on, it looks like a treadmill there at a standing desk. Is that right?
Yeah. Walking desk. Yeah. Sitting for prolonged periods over 6-hour days, actually unhealthy, associated with a decreased lifespan, increased all-cause mortality. And this is even in people that then after work, go to the gym and pound it out for an hour a day. There's something about prolonged sitting. It may have something to do with what's called endothelial function, which is the function of the inner lining of our blood vessels, the stasis, the stagnant blood in our lower limbs, particularly when our knees are bent, can increase the coagulability of our blood, kind of the clotting of our blood, which increase our risk for cardiovascular disease. And so I encourage people to be active, not only for the exercise recommendations, but in addition to try not to sit. So you can do a standing desk. And that's literally, you can put a milk crate on top of a table, put your laptop on top. I mean, it doesn't have to be fancy. Or you can go to your local thrift store, and where there's just tons of exercise equipment, get a cheap treadmill, slip it under some plastic crates and duct tape, and you are good to go. And you'd be amazed. You're on the phone with somebody, and it's like 45 minutes later, you just walk for 45 minutes. It's like you didn't even think about it. I mean, it's just now, look, you can go outside and take a walk and talk to people. That's great, too. But what if the weather's bad, whatever? And look, it's really slow. It's just, you can still type. You can still do your work. People don't understand how much they're checking email and stuff. And you could be like, I just walked for 2 hours and just got something done. So, yeah, I encourage people to add a little activity into their lives.
Staying on that topic for just a moment, because it is so important, and I did a wonderful interview on just the power of walking alone for people dealing with cancer with Jonathan Landsman as part of this series. Maybe you can talk just a little bit on the science of what walking does for the body in relationship to helping fight against cancer.
No, that's a good question about cancer. Why cancer risk is reduced by Exercise. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I know from the cardiovascular standpoint, something called flow-mediated shear stress along that inner lining. When you have the constant tugging of blood, that keeps the musculature of our arteries healthy, so it can relax normally and dilate, and keep our blood thin, reducing our risk of ischemic stroke and heart disease. But why it helps with, I mean, you could imagine, and I don't know the data, but you can imagine that, what does exercise do? It increases blood flow to organs such that it improves the delivery of oxygen and nutrients, improves the removal of waste products. And you can only imagine, look, we were built to move, right? I mean, our bodies we weren't meant to be sitting around all day. And so, I mean, it just kind of makes a certain amount of sense. But in terms of exactly, it was certainly a reduction of inflammation. So exercise, any kind of exercise, aerobics, strength training, reduces inflammatory biomarkers like IL-6 and CRP. And there's a number of cancers that thrive on inflammation. That low-grade inflammation helps certain tumors attract a blood supply. And so they actually go out of their way to kind of stoke the immune system to increase inflammation. That's why you see chronic gastritis can lead to stomach cancer. Chronic hepatitis can lead to liver cancer. There's a number of inflammatory diseases that then turn into cancer. And so certainly by reducing inflammation systemically throughout the body, you may be able to kind of slow down some of these cancers. A classic example of this is Kaposi sarcoma, which affects AIDS victims. When you actually start treating the AIDS, the cancer flares, actually gets worse. Why? Because it is this inflammation stoked tumor. And when the immune system gets better, the cancer gets even bigger before finally the body can start knocking it down. So that certainly could be one way. And that is both from a dietary standpoint, they're anti-inflammatory foods, as well as movement to decrease levels of inflammation.